There is a well-known Latin phrase, which I am not going to try to pronunciate, but I will type and put in the comment section below for you to read. It is in essence to say that the abuse of a thing is no argument against its proper use. And this is important for us to remember in terms of our mental health, because many times what happens when we have a painful experience is our brains want to protect us from that experience. And the way it does that is by having us to go as far away from that thing as possible so we don't encounter that pain again. What can happen, though, in our lives is that it can be a reactionary response, more of a pendulum swing, and sometimes it's hard for us to come back to a centered place of balance in regard to that thing. For example, maybe you have been vulnerable with someone, and you have opened your heart, you have shared your thoughts and your desires, and perhaps that person, instead of being trustworthy and careful with your heart, they instead use that against you in another argument down the road. Maybe they shared that information with someone else, and maybe your reputation was ruined because of it. Or maybe they simply just broke your heart after you gave them trust. They left, they walked away or out of your life for one reason or another. And in that space, our brain might have a tendency to create a reaction and say, well, I was vulnerable, and when I was vulnerable, that caused me pain, so I will no longer be vulnerable again. But this is where we can run into trouble, right? Because if we're no longer vulnerable, if we let the abuse of that thing cause us not to use it properly, then we will also miss out on the connection. We will miss out on the friendship, the intimacy, the love that can be shared when people are vulnerable. The sense of unity, the sense of belonging, the sense of being known, all of that comes out of vulnerability. And when we have a reaction to cut ourselves off from all vulnerability in order not to be hurt, then we also miss out on the benefits as well. So I would encourage you to ask yourself where you might have reacted to some pain in your life that you need to come back to center, that you need to perhaps expose yourself or push yourself to have those experiences again, to be open to something that was painful, but to doing it in a different way. You see, the thing is oftentimes not to say, I will never do that again, but to say, I will do that now with safety parameters in place, with more caution or with more awareness or with more boundaries in place in order to protect that thing. But I don't have to avoid it altogether.